last night in Provo, Utah, I was obviously at the game last night. BYU beats Kansas by 34. BYU, very fun story. I've covered that a ton on other podcasts and everything, but this is more about Kansas right now. The state of the Kansas program, the state of blue bloods, honestly. You look where Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, Carolina are currently at right now. Things are troubling for these guys right now because, let's be honest, they're not the only guys who can pay players now. Now they're struggling to play that game, and we'll talk about John Shire and some other stuff later, but focusing on Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks, what on earth is going on in Kansas right now?
I mean, it sounds like they just bought like crypto coins and paid a lot of money and they went to the tank immediately. I mean, they went out and bought Hunter Dickinson. Or obviously year 2 of Hunter Dickinson. They got AJ Storr, bad investment. So you have 2 bad investments. Bill Self was already tired of last year's team, obviously after the round of 32 when they lost. Yeah. He was ready for this upcoming year, which obviously was due to injuries, but now we are in that year. They're number 1 in the country. They played with fire early in the year with UNC, almost came back from double digits and almost beat them on their home court. And now you're seeing it just kind of collapse and blow up. And last night, like you said, against BYU, it really blew up on them. And I've never seen a Bill Self team look so defeated so early in a game. Like even when they've been down 15-20 before under Bill Self, they've cut it to single digits or something, but they just rolled over. And I was stunned.
And I was standing on the sidelines at warmups last night, and the body language was terrible even from the start. And I go, okay, maybe these guys, they're tired, they're traveling. Maybe they'll just turn it on when the game starts. And the second that ball tipped off, BYU said, screw you guys, we're taking over. This is our game. And Kansas just wanted to quit that game. They were like getting smoked in NBA 2K and just trying to turn off the Xbox, but they just couldn't. And it just went on for 40 minutes. But the funniest part, you mentioned how Bill Self didn't like this Kansas team last year. Well, hell, he brought back the exact same team. He brought back the 3-headed monster of Hunter Dickinson, KJ Adams, and DeJuan Harris, who are good players in their own. But together, it doesn't fit because when you put out 3 guys who can't shoot outside of 10 feet, it's just not going to work. It's, I was going to ask you this with the Bill Self stuff right now. To be honest, I think he's going to be fine. He's obviously one of the best coaches ever and everything. But it is because I think the thing is he just made a bad deal getting into bed with Hunter Dickinson because Hunter Dickinson is just not a winning basketball player. But the other side of it is, okay, obviously there's going to be a very much of a revamped roster next year. Let's say it doesn't work out. Does it have the inklings of kind of the final days of Roy Williams?
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, I have in my notes, Carter, I have a lukewarm take, and I think that Bill Self I could see him being the next big coach or big name coach to retire from college basketball. And not saying it's going to happen after this year or anything, but in a couple years, I wouldn't be shocked because it's just he's tried to adapt, right? Everybody's like, it's pay for play. Okay, they did that with Hunter Dickinson 2 years ago. They got AJ Storr, averaged 17 a game at Wisconsin. He's averaging 6 points a game now, and now there's just no bond with his team in that locker room because everybody's saying, hey, you need to pay these guys. Well, they're paid, and now they're not producing, and they just got blown out against BYU. And I just think he's like, look, I tried to adapt. I can't get through to these kids. I'm a Hall of Famer. I've won championships. I broke what did he break? The Big 12 record, I think it was, earlier this year or some. Mm-hmm. He broke some big record, wins record this year. So he's done it all. And so I could see him after, another couple years, he's staying around the game with like College Game Day and still being around the game of college basketball.
And College Game Day needs its own revamp. Look, you can hate or love Pat McAfee, but that was a successful deal by College Game Day for football. College Basketball Game Day needs a total revamp. Get rid of everybody, bring in new blood, but that's a different discussion. But yeah, with Bill Self, it's this weird like talent evaluation thing where it's, when you're grabbing freshmen, who they are. You have 2-3 years dealing with these guys. When you're getting these transfer portal guys, you know them for what, a week? Or if you know them at all, you just see their tape and one of your coaches says, or your recruiting guy says, hey, he's really good. Throw $1.5 million at this cat.
Yeah, I mean, it's an automatic bidding war from the beginning because there's no longer the player and coach relationship. There is a third party that's in the same room as them that has never been there before. It's somebody that's just looking out for the player only in terms of monetizing this guy's name, image, and likeness while they're taking 20%, like Duke QB Darren Mensa's agent has been on TV saying that he's taking 20% from his guys. So, like these agents have an agenda and they don't really care about the fit or if their guy likes the head coach necessarily. They want them to go get the most money, and that's where it's problematic.
So people were saying they were getting mad at agents and everything. They're like, they're taking 20%. That's ridiculous. On the flip side of that, look, some agent went out there and got Cade Tyson over $600,000. So I think he deserves 20% of that.
That's a good point. That's a good look at the other side of the coin. Is a guy got Cade Tyson $600,000 and he deserves 20% of that, as he's obviously sitting on the bench at UNC, which is shocking to me in a different way because he looked pretty good at Belmont, but it just shows the leap from a mid-major to a blue blood. And look, Kansas has a different problem in itself. Like I said, AJ Storr averaging 17 points a game last year at Wisconsin when he transferred in. But like you said earlier, the roster construction is not great. Like, none of these guys can really shoot the ball. I mean, when Kansas beat Duke, KJ Adams was doing fist pumps every time he hit a floater in the lane. And I'm like, you're a D1 college basketball player. Why are you so shocked to see this ball go in?
And if you're a Duke fan and you look back and go, how the hell did we lose to Kansas? Look back, Kansas played almost a perfect game that night, and Duke played an F+ game if they're lucky. So that was the difference that night. Duke wins that game 9 times out of 10, in my opinion. The other thing I wanted to mention with this Bill Self stuff is I think a lot of this, seeing what's going on at Carolina and Kansas, I know we're Duke guys, and this is going to sound super biased, but I think what we see at Carolina and what we see at Kansas really adds to Coach K's legacy, because him handpicking Jon Scheyer and saying, no, this is the guy to lead Duke into the NIL game and the NIL era has really completely shifted the program, because he was clearly the guy. And if Duke did it their way, Tommy Amaker's the head coach at Duke right now. And I'll tell you what, I don't think Tommy Amaker's doing what Jon Scheyer's done in his first couple years. And so credit to Coach K. You can hate the farewell tour. You can hate Coach K. But it was a real good move by Coach K to bring in Jon Scheyer instead of Tommy Amaker or some other person.
Yeah, no, I agree. And handpicking Scheyer, obviously, people that don't like Duke, the farewell tour is what it is. But if it's anybody, you spent 50 years of the game, you deserve one more year and let everybody know about, hey, I'm about to be out of here. Like, I think I would have loved to see Roy Williams not retire on April Fool's Day, because I didn't believe that happening for about 15 hours on April 1st, because there's no way the guy's going to come back and coach. He deserved that. And so does the Bill Self. Say Bill Self, you know what? He just publicly announces at the end of the year, next year is my last year. He deserves that. And so that gives the whole administration time to really go through and find their guy. And Scheyer was Duke's, though he was on the bench. Duke did do a deep dive in Amaker, Scheyer, and probably third parties out there we don't know about. And it's worked. It's worked successfully, and that's something that I think other teams will look into.